The coronavirus pandemic is changing the world in unprecedented ways. It is affecting cities, industries, and the economy. Have you thought about the impact it has on the mind? Mental health is one of the most neglected areas of health. Despite its impact on individuals, families, and society, there's been little investment in mental health. Even without the COVID-19 pandemic, 1 in 4 of us will suffer a mental health episode during our lifetimes. The pandemic has rapidly evolved into a fast-moving global issue with world updates produced on a daily basis. The United Nations has urged governments around the world to take the mental health consequences seriously and ensure widespread availability of mental health support. On this episode of Wellbeing, I'm joined by Samuel Obafemi, a behavioral change advisor, a therapist, life coach, and 11-time author. He's doing great things in the area of anger management, emotional intelligence, stress management, and peak performance.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Wellbeing here on 84 TV Radio. I am Adirayo Senami. Thank you for joining me on another enlightening episode. I like to say, when you live a healthy lifestyle, you can help others do the same. The coronavirus pandemic is increasingly overwhelming for people and communities all over the world. And while physical distancing may help slow the spread of the virus, it can affect us mentally. To discuss this, I have with me Coach Sam Obafemi. He's a behavioral change advisor, a therapist, and an 11-time author. For emphasis, I had to say that. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Adira, for having me. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Mental health is a broad issue.
Yeah.
It's a broad topic, and we have very limited time on the show today. So I'm going to pick on a couple of topics to start off. I want to start from the very top, which is the current situation which we are in now, the coronavirus pandemic. Yeah. And in addition to the physical impact of the virus itself, there's economic instability, all over the world. It's not just Nigeria. You agree with me that this can adversely affect someone's mental health. There's a virus out there, and then my account is doing, So as a life coach, as a behavioral change advisor, what's your opinion of, the events happening right now?
The events of Corona are unprecedented. We didn't see that coming. No matter how well we were prepared, the extent of the impact of Corona is very, very huge. And like you have rightly said, it has affected social relationships, it has affected economic factors, it's affected physical factors. It seemingly has also exaggerated even health issues, bodily health. And the thing about mental health is that mental health is not a medical challenge. Mental health is a social challenge. And because you need socialization, healthy socialization to keep up with your mental health, Corona has disenfranchised people from interrelating at a level that they want. A typical example is psychologically, we say you need to have a minimum of 8 hugs every day.
I didn't know that.
Yes, minimum 8 hugs every day to be in a proper mental state, because we are humans, we feel. And so that touch has a huge impact on our psychology. So Corona has told you, don't hug. Corona has told you, don't kiss, don't peck. Everybody stay on your own, day or day. And so it has had a direct impact. The thing is, because of the way Corona has to be managed, there is a direct proportion to the impact of mental health. And so it's quite unprecedented. It's a very, very difficult situation we're in.
And the news is not helping. Every time you tune the TV, you hear COVID-19 updates.
Yes.
And it's global.
It's global.
And then you hear the global figures are rising. I know that can, it's no secret that can affect us, mentally.
Another thing about mental health is that it's a result of lack of grit or resilience. So mental health tests your resilience. And if you have a low resilience quotient, the news, the results, and for those who have close people who have gone through Corona, who have even died, there's a direct hit. Your revenue is plunging for business people. Your paycheck is reducing for those in employment. The chances of getting customers to buy is reducing because everybody's trying to conserve the money they have. You know, you can't eat what you want. You can't go anywhere you want. You have to, you know, and then the pressure of technology is also another problem because everybody is Zooming now and everybody is WhatsApping and everybody is, so the pressure of technology is also telling because there is a link between intense interneting and depression. There's a direct link. So there's intense Instagramming now, there's intense Facebooking, there's intense tweeting, and these have a collateral damage on the brain over time. So we have not seen the worst yet. The worst is still coming because we're in the midst of intensive binging on internet and separating from people. It's like we're at the sowing stage. And you know the way it is with life. There's a sowing, there's a reaping. So 9 months from now, 3 years from now, the results of now will start to show in increased depressions, increased suicide cases. So these are the fears we have.
I like, because I'm going to use some of your words. You said mental health is not a medical problem, it's a social issue.
It's a social issue.
And whatever it is that we're doing now, whatever new adaptive skills, because we're adapting to the new world, to the world as we know it, we'll reap it later on.
Yes.
I want us to go back decades, and I want to talk about the fact that COVID-19 has exposed the underinvestment for decades in mental health, not just in Nigeria. Several countries are just now even including it in their health budgets or in their health schemes. You know, what can we do? Because I'm pressed for this one. You said that we're sowing seeds, you know, something we're going to reap in future. It means this is also an opportunity to fix things. How can we fix it? Because once you're done telling me that, I'll now go to the issues, because some of us might not recognize these signs. But first of all, let us look at it. This is a perfect opportunity to set a template for how we address mental health issues going forward. How can we chart a course forward?
So there are two things. I'll speak from the private angle first. Okay. The private angle being you and I, our families, our friends. The good thing that Corona did for us is that Corona brought us together. Somehow, we just found that we're fighting a common enemy. So everybody started improving on checking on each other and trying to cover each other up. Good thing, because the average Nigerian lifestyle, everyone's just on their own doing anyhow.
I mean, you said 8 hugs. I've never heard it before. How many people you hug in Nigeria?
You know, but we need to encourage that.
Yes.
You know, and while I understand why people are, you know, conscious about hugging or no hugging because of the rise in rape and rise in, you know, molestation and all that, it's understandable. But when we say hug, it doesn't mean man must hug woman. Woman, boy, anyone. Just, you need that touch.
An encouraging one. It's not anything sexual.
No sensual, not sexually motivated. Yes. You know, so, but what's the way forward? First and foremost, every family should invest in understanding mental health. It's very key. Everyone should be interested in mental health. Because it's not a medical thing, it doesn't mean that I have to go to medical school. You need to understand that as simple as how your food would digest is a mental health issue. Because mental health is all about my perception of things. So as simple as how I'm going to drink water and it will work in my body is a mental health issue. You can eat all the food you want and your body will reject it. So you see some people eating and getting fat, and some people are eating and they are not adding any weight. It's a mental health issue. As simple as sleeping habits is a mental health issue. You know, so these are very basic things. Individuals should be interested in mental health. And then if you're interested, then you begin to learn the skills on how to provide coping mechanisms and advice for people. Because now let me talk about the second part, which is the public part. And in public here, I'm talking about the government. Frankly speaking, as a practitioner, I've done this for 15 years, and I know how much we have invested in learning and putting up a structure. The government of Nigeria is sleeping. And so I can't tell you that the government would help. I have found in Nigeria a style. We will talk about it, we will collect the money, and the money will enter somebody's pocket, and everything will go on. So I cannot tell you that, the government should build institutions, build blah, 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 blah. For me, you are just promoting corruption because they will talk about it, they will go and do what it needs to do, get the money out. So from the government side, I'm not optimistic. This is my personal view. I'm not optimistic, but I wish that the federal government would do more than they talk. Some months ago, we were at the National Assembly to push the mental health bill. I'll tell you that as of today, the bill for mental health doesn't exist. The bill closest to it is a lunacy bill of 1959. that we're still operating on. And even the bill that we're trying to push now was written by consultant doctors. There was no mental health specialist involved, no clinical psychologist, no psychiatrist, no social workers, only medical doctors. But mental health is a whole spectrum. So even if the bill is passed today into law, the content of the bill still does not meet the requirement of mental health. So when it comes to government in this country, I just remove my hand and face my private practice, but the way forward is, I think every individual, family, friends, private sector, let us take this more seriously, because if you think you run a business, the revenue of your business is tied to the mental health of your staff. You can't take it away. If you think you run a church or a mosque, the sanity of your congregation is tied to mental health. If you think you have a family, my family, the bonding and the friendship and the happiness within the family is tied to mental health. So if we understand it at that level, we will be more interested.
You have just concisely put Nigeria's problem. You have identified the problem and proffered the solution all in 1 minute. Thank you so much, Doctor. I kept mixing it. Should I address you as Mr. or Doctor or Coach?
Okay, so I'm officially not a doctor.
Yes.
Getting there. Academic doctor though, not medical. I'm a licensed life coach. Okay. I'm licensed from the UK. I'm a licensed mental health advocate. I'm also a licensed positive psychiatrist from Sydney. So, but doctor, no. Life, if you call me Coach Sam, valid. If you call me Mr. Sam, valid, but not doctor. I'm getting there.
Okay. I'm seeing things. So, Coach Sam, yes. I'm so glad, for your wealth of experience. 15 years it's not been, in this very unique field that we do not understand. We're a very expressive society, but like you said, we do a lot of talking. So, but in your experience, since this pandemic started, it's going to about a year now, what are some of the signs you've seen as an adverse effect, on our mental health due to the immediate, problem, this pandemic? What are some of the things, what are some of the ways people have manifested that that, this is not this person ordinarily? Yes. What are some of the signs?
Okay, so there's been increased pessimism in some quarters. Some people have become more pessimistic. Some people have lost sleep. Sleeping patterns have changed for majority.
Yes.
But some is not out of work. Some is out of anxiety, out of apprehension. Yes. So people, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., you see them writing on their WhatsApp status, who is awake, let's chat.
Yes,
you just know there's
quite
a challenge.
Common.
So it's a result of mental health challenges. Some people have lost their eating patterns, the freshness and the availability of choices. I used to have my gigs going to junkyard or going to salad spot. Those things are not available anymore. So you have to just make do with what you have. So eating habits have changed. That has impacted on metabolism. That's another angle. Another angle is increased in substance use. I have a friend who told me, not a friend, someone I know, he said he stocked his house with alcohol because this corona thing, he won't allow it to affect him. So he's going to be downing alcohol as much as he can so that he just will not be in reality state.
That's your own coping mechanism.
That's his own coping mechanism, but that's an increased substance use. And unfortunately, increased use of substance leads to addiction. Addiction is a brain disease. Because at some point, as you get using substance, instead of you looking for the substance, the brain will be demanding the substance. So we're seeing a long-term consequence where people can now get hung up on substance, weed, cannabis, marijuana, alcohol, cigarettes.
All these illegal items. Because
unsafe items, basically.
That's a better word. That's a better way to put it.
Some people have become addicted to sex in the corona period.
Well, they're cooped up in the house.
Well, that's the consequence.
Yes.
So some people are addicted to eating because you're in the house. So all these are direct impacts of corona. But the most vicious for me is the depressive tendencies. More people have lost hope. People are wondering, because by the time we look at it business-wise, before corona really, really effectively goes away, it will be in 2022.
Yeah.
So people are wondering, between now and 2022, what happens to me? How do I even know who has it? So that level of anxiety, which is a mental health disorder by itself, is a problem. And we have other disorders like loneliness. It's a disorder. You can't hang out. You can't be with people you really love to be with. So these are all vices and experiences that people are going through. Now we see that why church and mosque is a significant escape, Corona is showing it. Because then, no matter how when you just go to church on Sunday, anyhow, just find yourself among people, and that seemed to be a reprieve for a while. But now, it's not there. So we're in a very complicated situation, But like I said before, it's a function of grit and resilience of everyone.
So we're back to that point again.
Yes.
And this absolutely clarifies what you meant at the beginning when you said the seeds there were sowing. Because when you describe the signs that, that one sees, but you don't understand the impact, too much eating, obesity is waiting somewhere in the future. Addiction, there's alcohol problem, liver damage, health crisis, waiting somewhere in the future. That you can trace back to this time.
Big time.
Okay, I'm having such a great time discussing this, and I think that's what most, we should do now, proffering solutions. I have to go on this quick break. I'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Wellbeing here on 84 TV Radio, and I've been chatting with Coach Samuel Obafemi, a behavioral change advisor, a mental health expert, and all the regular titles. I'll try and remember all those. Although I said all that, I'll chop it up. Yes, I always have. Okay, this is still, we're back on the show now. You're not a shrink in the sense of it. But, so it means, what's that word now? Someone can easily walk up to you and have a chat with you.
Yes.
And you can make them feel good, about themselves, or feel better about whatever situation.
About their situation.
Yes, good. So it means you're quite aware with you've met a couple of people who are living with mental health issues.
Yes.
I know it's important for me to talk about that on today's episode because there's a tendency to focus on the COVID-19 and its impact on us who are living our regular lives. I'm scared to use I'm avoiding the use of the word normal. What about people who already have an existing mental health condition? How will they cope being cooped up in the house? Because one of the things restrictions and isolations does is,
it seems to exaggerate the situation.
More than, it aggravates the situation.
Yes. You're right. Those who were already living with mental health conditions, many of them already have a procedure they're going through with therapists or social workers, or depending on what they have joined or signed up to before. So, but because of the COVID, especially during the lockdown, when physical engagements were not acceptable, I'm sure many of them found alternative ways. There were several therapies that, my clients and I, we used Zoom throughout, and so those were ways that we did it. But now with the release or the relaxation of the lockdown, I still have my sessions in my office. So the weekly sessions have resumed. You sit with your client. What matters is social distancing. So basically, where there's a will, there's a way. There's always a way around.
So you're saying they're adapting better than people, like, regular people who were just thrown into this pandemic and their worlds were turned upside down.
Majority of them are adapting better. The thing is, once you know your enemy, you've won half of the battle.
True.
So because they knew already they were coping with these situations, and for every time they sensed or went through something that they didn't expect, the therapist was already on ground. For those who were thrown into this is when they now needed to find a therapist. This is where they had to cope with new things in a hurry. So for those that are just finding out that they are having a mental health crisis, it's more difficult than those that already. It's just like when they say if you have an underlying health issue, your own awareness is different from those whom just realized that COVID exposed that they didn't even know they were ill. So it's a different ball game altogether. Now the way we work is that we have a structure where in SUPCA we interrelate with clinical psychologists and psychiatrists, because we as mental health first aiders, we provide the preliminary support, we provide the assessments, we provide the preliminary tools of recovery. But where the case is clinical, we now have to refer you to one of our clinical psychologists. We have a clinic, a mind and behavior clinic, that is run in partnership with clinical psychologists. So when the case is gone beyond first aid, you go see a clinical psychologist. When the clinical psychologist sees that you need to be administered drugs and medical interventions, we refer you to our psychiatrists, because only the psychiatrists are authorized to prescribe drugs. So we have a pretty clear system that works. So, but one of the most important things of therapy, and we call it CBT, is cognitive behavioral therapy, that says all mental health issues can be healed if you can change your thinking, because it's a social issue.
So how do you change someone who is already set in their ways? Someone who has grown up all their life to believe this one thing.
So
how do you unlearn?
That's part of the procedure. The awareness that you have beliefs that govern how you think that has brought you to this point. So once we can get you to agree that I am at this point and this point is a problem, then we trace that point back to the thoughts that brought you there. If you can agree that the thoughts have brought you to this point, then we'll ask you if you are willing to start thinking in a new way. We call it neurogenesis, which means you're permitting your brain to start thinking something new, which is weaker than what you're used to thinking. So we bring this to your awareness so that you permit yourself to repeat and repeat and repeat that new behavior until it becomes strong. It's like going to the gym, kind of. So there are pretty laid out procedures that work, but all these are information. One of the best ways to change anybody is to educate them.
Yes.
You can't force anyone, which is, all these are pretty laid out in the procedure.
And when people know better, they can live better.
Big time.
And then of course you can replicate it,
Yes.
They can replicate it.
Yes.
You train the trainer and then the cycle goes on
That's
and on.
it.
So I want to go back to, we've talked about mental health, COVID-19 as it affects mental health of individuals,
Yes.
as a family, and then people who already have a pre-existing condition.
Yes.
I want to go back home to the nuclear level. I want to go to someone with children in their
Yes.
house right now. I mean, we need to go there.
Yes.
Mental health is a broad subject.
Yes.
And you can take this topic in any different
Yes.
angle. But I was hoping on the show today that we'll touch a little on, mention
You're
something
welcome.
that anybody watching can say, oh, I can relate with that.
You're welcome.
So I want to come from the view of a mother
Yes.
or a father living in the same house with children in this
Yes.
lockdown.
Yes.
Someone made a salient observation that there was a test. We saw a test, a COVID-19 center on TV, and they were testing children. And I said, oh, they are testing Almanjiri children. And said, they're the ones that, and I said, the only reason Almanjiri children that you've identified will be the ones to catch it are because of the upsurge. Most people are still, before the lockdown was eased, they're still going from state to state. They take it from here, they go and spread it in other states. Why you will not see your regular school-going children there is because they've been locked at home for more
Yes.
than 8 weeks.
Yes.
So except their parent is going out and coming in to
and
infecting them, there's no way you will see a center,
True.
And so I'm really grateful for the decision to shut down schools. That's a plus until this thing
I agree with you.
until this thing is figured out. So, but the parents that is living in the house with 4 children, 3 children, leave this place, come back here. You're dealing with, they're eating. Children are eating tons and gazillions right now. You're dealing with providing them activities to keep them occupied. What else again it is that you're doing? Pretty much you're a teacher, coach,
them,
everything. And it's a daily schedule, nothing changes.
Yes.
How does a parent cope?
So, I like this question. The thing is, one of the recommendations of World Health Organization for mental health is know your capacity. In fact, that's the first thing in the definition of what mental health is. The definition of mental health, based on the crafting of World Health Organization, says 4 things must happen. Know your capacity per time. Create a coping mechanism that works for you. Focus on being productive and fruitful. Then maintain a contribution to society. 4. So as a parent, don't kill yourself. I've told many parents, create a schedule. You know what? If on a good day you normally go to the office, come back. In the house, create that scenario. 10 to 12, I'm supposed to be in the office. Go and lock yourself somewhere. Everybody leave me. If you want to be jumping the roof, it's okay. When I come back from the office, we'll continue. That simulation is key. So, as a parent, don't be over aching for other, which is where flexibility comes in. This is emotional intelligence at work. You need to grow the flexibility that on a good day, kids do this by so time. I usually am not at home. Now I'm at home, and you need to shut off and shut out. They will not, unless it is a do or die, a life-threatening play. Leave them. And then sit with your kids. This is an opportunity to create a routine. Because routine relaxes mental health. And once kids know a routine, once you tell them between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m., any play you want to play, just play in that zone, don't cross here, they will obey. After that time, okay, everybody, clean the mess you created. They will clean it. Once you create that routine, go on and do your thing. But parents want that impeccable house. No, don't touch here, don't go here. You guys are making noise, keep quiet. I mean, no, it can't work. But guess what, again? Children, we call it play therapy. A child that does not play will have there's what we call the mental developmental stages, the brain's developmental stages. Play is a function that contributes to mental developmental stage of a child.
So play is part of learning.
It is. In fact, as adults, if for some of us who are neuro-linguistics programmers, they tell us the best environment of learning is fun. The best environment for learning is fun. So for a child, it's not, for an adult, it's optional. For a child, it's mandatory. That's the only way their brains can expand. Neuroplasticity. The brain can only expand when there is a lot of options for them to play across and pick what they want. That's why they say with children, be colorful, be expressive, be flexible, give them access to many options. Let them test and say, I'm drawn to this. So as they're evolving into adulthood, they will be drawn to something from many things. But some parents say, no, my child likes music. I just want him to be doing music. Don't do that. Let them do squash, tennis, swimming, singing, everything. Let them now evolve into something by themselves. So parents, in this COVID, I told my kids, I have 2 daughters, and the school is already saying, the federal government, blah, blah. I told them, you people go on, be doing your school, my children are not coming. And throughout this break, except for a few times when we had the virtual learning thing, I told my kids, you know what, just relax. There are people that didn't even go to school at all. It's in adulthood they went to adult learning. So which one? If you lose one whole term, we don't lose anything. I've told my wife, January 2021, they can resume school if COVID behaves itself. Because these kids, we need to cut them some slack. I think we have been so stereotyped. We want children to be adults. It can't work. God has not designed it like that.
I know you have just solved one parent's problem just by saying all of this, because there's a lot I wanted to interject, but I needed to let you flow.
Thank you.
I mean, I know one person has learned from what you've just said.
Thank you.
So it was adulthood that triggered me, because we've talked about parents to children, we've
Yes.
talked about children themselves.
Yes.
And I want you to mention the people who are in the gap, the young adults, teenagehood to adulthood, because that's another level.
Yes.
They're at that
Yes.
stage where mom, you go to your room and
Yes.
starts wondering, I should know when to, how, what's that word? How can I, school is closed. Yeah. Now what? Yeah. I'm a young adult. I cannot go and visit my friends, because those are escape routes for teenagers. Yeah. What can you say to help those people?
I think that, so I have a young adult in my house. She's not my biological child, but she's inching towards 18, 19. Yeah. And I sat with her and asked her, so what do you want to do during this break? And she says she wants to learn fashion, and she wants to do photography. So I asked her, okay, so help me find out how you want to do it, since you can't be engaging physically. So she stumbled on some course where they send WhatsApp notes on what to do in your house, and you take pictures and send back, or you do videos, and she's been doing her thing. I think that this is an opportunity for parents or guardians to enhance the relationships with young adults. But like we always say in life coaching, you, the coach, in this context, the parent and the guardian, you're naive to their preferences. Don't say, I know you. I know this is what you should be doing. No, you're naive. They are the expert of what their interests are. So your priority is to ask and allow them do it. Because, like I always say, the Nigerian parent by himself is dysfunctional. The average Nigerian parent is dysfunctional. We want to force people to do things our way. And that is old school. So young adults, allow them do what they want. And like I said, create a routine. If you give them room, they will give you room. It's mutual respect. That's the way I look at it.
Yes, we could keep talking about this subject and we'll always find one problem to address. I want to go to one major topic, and that's what we started from, COVID-19 and its impact on our mental health.
Yes.
The COVID itself, because that's another aspect, but I want to look at that very quickly and then we'll wrap up this episode. Some people have tested positive, they survived COVID-19, but they're living with discrimination and stigmatization. What would you say to someone who is in that condition right now?
If you have gone through COVID and you have healed, yes, and someone is stigmatizing you, guess what? They are the problem, not you. We call it projecting. When I meet you, Derayo, and I feel she's too fair, she's supposed to be darker. It's me that has problem, it's not you. Because you're already you. There's nothing, you are not struggling with anything. So when you meet a person that projects on you their inadequacies, don't take offense. These are some of the things I've learned over time. We live in an unforgiving community and judgmental system. And I've found that those that are judging are healing. When you are not healed, you will judge. People that have healed from an experience, they never judge. That's the way these things work out. So if I have ever had a medical experience or condition that I've healed from, and somebody went through COVID-19 and healed, I have some form of empathy because I know what it means. But if I don't have that experience, I'm projecting out of my ignorance. It's not the person that healed that has a problem. So if you've gone through COVID-19 and you've healed, celebrate that you have a chance to life. And anybody that stigmatizes you, just see them as you don't even have an idea. So in other words, respond to stigma with pity.
That's a perfect place to wrap up this episode of Wellbeing. Coach Samuel Obafemi, you have been such a delightful guest. Someone will say she says that to all her guests. Thank you so much for coming on Wellbeing. I look forward to having you some other time because there's lots
yes,
and lots to
this. It's an unlimited subject matter.
Thank you
so much for having me.
So although the COVID-19 pandemic is in the first instance a physical crisis, it has sown seeds, in our mental health. And if we don't take time, it could, like our guest said, we'll reap the benefits later on in life. So as always, adhere to all preventive advice, wear your masks in public, wash your hands, and stay safe. My name is Adirayo Senami. Thanks for watching.